Hi, friends. So I see there's a lot of different governments now are talking about moving to state that there's a climate emergency. And yes, there definitely is a climate emergency. There should have been a move to make that statement at least at the end of the last century, or possibly the better thing would have been in the 1980s. And actually have done something then. We've left it way too late. Probably too late. But anyway, I'm not going to go into that. But, something that, I noticed the state government here in Tasmania is moving to declare a climate emergency here, which is very good, of course. And they're having some sort of a gathering, sort of rally, I think, tomorrow in the, outside of Parliament House on the lawns there, in Hobart. I think it's in the afternoon. You can find it on Facebook, but I think it's like 2 p.m., something like that. But just check it out. I'll leave information in the information section. The thing that sort of always bothers me, though, and I think it's great that people do talk about this, declare climate emergencies like governments. But there's this elephant in the room which just keeps being ignored, and I find it so depressing. And if you've watched my channel, you know what I'm going to talk about. You know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to actually talk about it much, but something that I sort of feel that it's overlooked and it's ignored because it's convenient for, nobody's willing to tackle it. And that, of course, is animal agriculture. And you've seen me post things about animal agriculture and its devastating effect on the climate, and also on land degradation, land clearing, rainforests, the water shortages, pollution to lakes and rivers and the ocean, devastation of the ocean with it's going to be fished, it's going to be empty by 2048, scientists say. And if you've watched Seaspiracy, it's absolutely atrocious what is happening in the oceans, and that's because we're not vegan and we're creating demand for animal products. And all the other stuff that's happening in relation to animal agriculture is because we're not vegan and we're creating demand for animal products. It's not these industries, it's not the large trawlers that are the problem. It's not, it's not farmers and their cow herds or any of the different animal farms. It's not just cows, it's not just dairy and beef in quotes. It's all kinds of animal agriculture. So, and it's not all the soy farming that happens to feed the animals in these large feedlots, which is a major problem too. So, and also the amount of fish that's fed to fish and to other animals in these large animal feedlots and so forth. It's an absolute incredible cluster mess. It's so crazy what we're doing in relation to animal agriculture, just having animal agriculture on the planet like this, particularly when we don't need animal products at all to survive, and we can easily meet all our nutrition requirements from plants and other animal sources. So all of this is just totally unnecessary and really just for our taste buds, really. And since a plant-based diet is so delicious and so healthy for us, and you can make all sorts of things, in fact, it's like, why are we doing this? Because it's some sort of tradition or convenience or habits or, and I know that the governments are making absolutely billions and billions and billions of dollars, but we can actually change that, and we can make, profits in other ways. There's a load of things we can do. Plant-based, plant-based is going to bring in a lot of money as well. And it's also going to save the planet. And most importantly, we're not going to be killing 1 trillion land and aquatic animals every year for trivial reasons. So when I see this sort of thing happening, when I see, these climate emergencies being declared, and there's absolutely no mention of animal agriculture and including the fishing industry and all of that, it makes me despair, because I just sort of think, well, we're not really serious. we're not really serious. And I'm going to show you those two memes that I always show about the largest research to date, 40,000 farms in 114 countries, from farm to fork, 90% of all the foods that we're eating. The conclusion to that largest study to date was that a plant-based diet is the most beneficial thing we can do. And, to not only address the climate, eutrophication and acidification of the oceans and the forest clearing and all of that. It's far, far better than, they say, than driving electric cars or anything like that. It's the thing that we should be doing. That's what the largest study to date said. And yet, everybody's referring to this intergovernmental panel as if they're so conservative. And they have been mentioning meat and dairy industry, and cutting back, this sort of cutting back business. As a vegan, I don't believe in this cutting back thing because they're sentient animals and we don't have the right to use them. But cutting back, just say 7 billion people decide to cut back. That's still going to be a lot of animals still being in use, a lot of all the dreadful things that happen, all the dreadful land clearing and all of that. Everything that's bad about it, and there's so much, is still going to take place. That is not a solution, cutting back, or meat-free Mondays, or fish-free Fridays, and all that nonsense, which is morally inconsistent. If you think something's wrong, which as a vegan, I think all animal use is wrong, but cutting back is not it doesn't cut it, basically. But I just despair when I see, these declarations of climate emergency. And there's animal agriculture isn't even on the radar. And yet it's a massive problem. It's massive. Read that report that I've referred to and given you a couple of memes about. Just read it. It's massive. And we all need to go vegan. This planet needs to go vegan. It needs to go vegan first for non-human animals because they're sentient and they just have the misfortune of being born on the planet with us. We've just decided because we can, we've enslaved them and used their bodies and taken their children and impregnated them, and we've done atrocious things to them, and we keep doing atrocious things to them, and they die by the trillions every year. These are sentient animals, but then there's just what we're doing. It's totally unsustainable, and it's got to stop. I keep saying this, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that whoever watches this and you're totally on board with this. I'm sorry. This isn't really directed at you. It's directed at anybody who keeps thinking that that's something you can do down the track because you don't want to be bothered changing anything in your life. It's much easier to say, look at the fossil fuel industry, look at the fracking industry, look at capitalism, yada, 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 and point outwardly at things. But that saying, everybody wants to change the world, nobody wants to change themselves. Well, I see it over and over and over again. Every time this issue comes up, mostly every single person I know on the left, otherwise very intelligent people, just pretending this isn't an issue, just ignoring it. At best, ignoring it. It's sort of frightening, really. I feel like sometimes I'm in that movie, the body snatchers, or pod people, where people are just they've just become sort of all their senses have been taken away from them, and it's like, it's one of the things that really makes me, I've said this before, it makes me think our species is too stupid to live because we appear to value our palate pleasure over our own survival and the survival of pretty much all the other species on the planet. Because animal agriculture, you can see from that largest study, the sixth mass extinction, it's directly causing the sixth mass extinction. And all of us who wring our hands about the sixth mass extinction and look at the polar bears and look at the 200 species going extinct every day and look at all those aquatic animals that are being caught up in fishing nets or dying from acidification, or the oceans are warming up and it's destroying whatever, and the dead zones in the ocean, all of that, the whole thing, or the oceans are going to be empty by 2048. People wringing their hands about the Amazon rainforest being cleared when 1 acre every, I think it's either a second or a minute, is cleared for animal agriculture or for soy to feed animals in those large feeding lots. All of that, we're all responsible for that if we're not vegan. So I don't like to, I mean this when I say I'm totally urging everybody who is not vegan and who keeps making excuses, saying that that's something that's some sort of personal choice. So, as if it's, well, these are all important issues, the fossil fuels and all of that, and the coal and all of that. But this veganism thing is some sort of personal choice that really isn't that important. You can do it, or you don't. Maybe cut back a little, but it's not important. That sort of thing is just BS. We have to stop that. We have to stop that. It's BS. It is more important in some ways than these other things. And we could do that right now. We don't have to wait for the Scott Morrison government to wake up, because they're not going to. We don't have to worry for the Labor. If there was a Labor government, they probably would still be dragging their feet. It doesn't matter what government is in. They're all kind of beholden in some ways to these old, outdated industries. And they're beholden to corporations. In America, in the US, it's an inverted totalitarian state. Look up Sheldon Wolin. We don't have to wait for these corporations to do anything, or these governments to do anything, because breaking news, I don't think they're going to do anything, or if they do, it's going to be so little, and we don't have any more time. We didn't have any more time in 2000, really, to be honest. And so we have to actually do what we can, and what we can do, not only for ourselves and for our health and for the planet, but for other animals who are living on this earth. They're fellow earthlings with us, and we never had the right to enslave them and kill them. It's ridiculous what we've done to them. We never had the right to do that. And so we need to be vegan, because that's something that we all can do. We don't need anybody's permission to do it. We can do that right now. It doesn't matter if you're in a group of people and they all can't be bothered. You can do that right now. Or if you're in a family and they're just sort of going poo-pooing the whole idea, you can be vegan right now. But there are millions and millions of vegans on the planet now. We need a lot more, though. We need the whole planet to go vegan and take this seriously. And it will be a fantastic thing. Imagine the peace. Instead of, literally 200 million plus animals every day are tortured and killed for these trivial, ridiculous reasons, and we don't need any of these products to survive. How insane is that? 200 million plus, and that's not including the aquatic animals. That's probably 4 times the amount or more. Every single day in 24 hours. That's thousands every second. That's all for unnecessary reasons. So can't we just abandon this? We can. I had the most fantastic breakfast today. It was scrambled tofu, and it was all sorts of things on the plate. It was a late breakfast. It was fantastic. It's so yummy. It's so yummy. Plant-based diet is so yummy, and it's so healthy. It's so healthy. You can reverse diseases with it, because a lot of the diseases, particularly the major ones like diabetes and heart disease and cancer and all of that, are directly caused in many ways by the amounts of animal products that we consume. They just don't belong in our bodies. We don't have this sort of the biology to deal with it. And if you look up nutritionfacts.org, you can find out why that is. That's a science-based nutrition site where they go through all the nutrition journals and medical journals and so forth, and they get all the latest studies and they put it together, and then they release it in short videos. Check that out. You'll find out how these animal products just do not belong in our bodies. May your food be thy medicine. That's so true. A plant-based diet is like medicine every day. I try to incorporate various things in my diet every day. I'm looking a bit bedraggled today for some reason. I think after that unfortunate result in the election, I think I felt a bit depressed, and so I'm looking a bit bedraggled. But generally speaking, I'm actually incredibly healthy. I don't get flus in the winter. I'm generally, I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm actually quite healthy. Somebody of my age is usually on lots and lots of medications. Being sorry to keep mentioning my age, but it always seems relevant to different things. But, I've been on the planet almost 6 decades, and most people who are my age are usually on lots of medication. They usually have high cholesterol. They usually have high blood pressure or whatever. I could lose a few pounds for sure, but I'm actually fairly healthy, and that's what a plant-based diet can do. If you've got a balanced plant-based diet, not eating vegan junk food, and there's more and more vegan junk food out there. But if you have a balanced plant-based diet, and I saw something, and if you're into, if you're wanting to transition and stuff, there's faux animal products. They're faux plant-based products. That emulate animal products. If you want to do that for a while, it's not good for you. And I don't know really, it's something that I don't really find very appealing, but there's plenty of that out there now. And, there's even somebody's made something that was called just eggs or something. It's in Chicago, and it's actually made out of mung beans. And apparently it tastes just like eggs when you mix it up. It's just like eggs. And I mean, eventually more and more of this stuff, if people want their animal products, and I find that I lost an interest pretty much straight away after I became vegan, particularly when I know what they were related to. So I'm not interested particularly in the taste of it, even in a plant-based thing, right? But there are people, who sometimes they want to cling to that for a while or maybe even longer. Well, there are things like that are coming out all the time. Complete, like things that are sort of emulate those products. If you want that, fine, quite well. So I think in about 10 years time, if we're around, even in about 10 years time, we will be, but we won't be if this keeps going. There'll be so many, if you need to have replacement products for different things, there'll be so much out there because how capitalism is. The more people who are interested in moving away from animal products, the more they'll create a supply for that. So there's lots and lots of companies now, and huge companies too, like massive companies that have realized there's more vegans on the planet, and also there's more people who want to move away from animal products. And so they're creating a supply of different things that are like replacement things. But as I say, you don't need to do that. I make things from scratch, and they're out of whole foods and stuff, and it's fantastic, and there's all kinds of delicious things you can make, different cultures, different ethnic cuisines and stuff. There's so much that you can do. It's never ending. Have you seen how many gazillions of YouTube channels with the people cooking plant-based stuff? I mean, you couldn't possibly get through all those recipes. It'd be lifetimes it'd take to get through the amount of vegan recipes there are. So anyway, please consider it. Please, I just think it's so important. We have to stop ignoring the elephant in the room. We have to stop. This has to end being the other inconvenient truth. This is the other inconvenient truth. The thing that Al Gore, way back when he did that, the inconvenient truth, he never barely mentioned animal agriculture, and everybody plays it down. Even alternative news like Democracy Now, they might mention it once in a blue moon, and they just focus on fossil fuels and all of that, and coal and all of that. And that's really terrible, because we really can't afford to be doing that anymore, pretending like that's something that we can do down the track, or it's not important, or these other things are more important. Like I say, I don't see governments. In fact, the Trump administration is going the other way. He's undoing all the environmental stuff. In fact, he actually there was a report that Noam Chomsky said he said it was the most astonishing thing he'd ever seen, one of the most astonishing things he'd ever seen, where there was a transport industry letter came out saying basically that because everything is sort of so far gone, why don't we just forget about emissions, and just let it go, sort of not have any caps on anything. That was something the Trump administration put out a couple of months ago. That's the direction the Trump administration, and let's not pretend that the Trump administration is the only problem. There have been other administrations that have been dragging their feet. He's just the crass version of it. He doesn't care at all. And others don't care because what have they done? Hardly anything. And everybody's been going along to these different climate summits and sort of having these low bar sort of targets. It's not good enough. So I don't think anything's really going to happen with these governments. I really don't. And the corporations are just going to eat the planet up. Capitalism, that's what it does. It's inextricably entwined with imperialism, and it's just going to eat the planet up until there's nothing left. So it's up to us. We can keep pushing to end those things and to go to renewables and all that kind of stuff, right? But we can chew gum we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can be vegan and we can do those things. So let's do that, shall we? Let's stop making excuses and blaming capitalism for it. Capitalism, we're all consumers. So whatever we buy and whatever we do, we're contributing to various things. If we're driving oil cars and all of, petrol cars and all of that, we're contributing to it. There's really hardly any alternatives. Unfortunately, because they've been dragging their feet. We're creating demands and they're supplying. So if we don't create demand for animal agriculture by going vegan, and if we make an ethical decision, which is more important as to why we should be vegan, because animals are sentient and they're not our resources and they're not our property and they're not things. If we do that, we can not only save the planet in a significant way, or rather, at least we can mitigate the dreadfulness that's going on. But we can also save our own health, and most importantly, we can end the absolute carnage that happens every single day, the torture and the carnage, the 200 million plus, and that's not including aquatic animals. We can end that all right now if we go vegan. So please go vegan. And I do vegan videos fairly regularly. I try to. And I do vegan education every day, but I do these videos probably once a fortnight. And if I try to do them more, I'm going to try and do them more often because it's really important. So please go vegan, and thank you so much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you like the content. Please click the notifications bell. Otherwise, you don't receive updates. Hit the like button if you like it, and also leave comments. I always appreciate your comments. So thanks so much for watching. My name is Trish Roberts. You're watching Faint Signals from Vegan. And please check out my How to Go Vegan resource, howtogovegan.org. It's a comprehensive vegan resource in podcast form. So thanks again. Bye for now.